Hi, welcome to Ghost Tales. We are talking about spooky tales of the supernatural and having a little fun doing it. I am Ashley Knight. With me today is Kelly Brennan. She is with Colonial Williamsburg. Dr. Kelly Brennan, actually. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah.
All the way from Williamsburg. Thank you for driving down for this.
Oh, it's totally worth it.
And so we're talking about different areas in Colonial Williamsburg that are haunted, taking a look at some of the buildings there, and just generally the vibe that exists there, because it is a very old town.
Yes.
And lots of supernatural activity around there. So let's jump right in. Talk about the history of Colonial Williamsburg as a haunted city.
One of the most amazing things about Colonial Williamsburg is that it has been inhabited for such a long time. The indigenous people who were in the area prior to the creation of Small C, the city of Williamsburg, which served as the capital of Virginia through most of the 18th century. One of the things that's sort of amazing about it as a haunted city is that it doesn't matter where you are in the city. I've walked down the street with colleagues and friends, and they'd point, "Is this building haunted? Is this building haunted? Yes." Is this one? Yes. I have yet to come to one that is completely ghost free.
Right.
Which has been pretty funny. So I've been telling ghost stories and been associated with the ghost program at Colonial Williamsburg for about 14, 15 years. So over the years, I have seen a lot. And one of the things that I have learned that, of course, we as the living are fascinated by ghost stories is that the dead pay attention to us just as much as we pay attention to them.
Really?
Yes. Years ago, I was giving a tour, and at the end of the tour, I had a woman come up to me and said, "I don't like to talk about this too loudly." And I'm thinking, one, it definitely ghost related, but I assume it's because she gets embarrassed.
Uh-huh.
And it was because she goes, "No, they can hear me." She said they were listening the whole time. She goes, "Everywhere we went, there was a different group of ghosts. They knew we were coming. They knew who you were. They complained about a storyteller they didn't like." She said, normally she never talks to any of the spirits, because if one knows, they all just kind of crowd her.
Yes.
But she said there were these 19th century Civil War era women walking down the street with us. And she turned to the other one and says, "I hate the way she dresses." And I was wearing khakis and a collared shirt. That was what we wore at the time.
Right.
And the woman who never speaks to the spirits turned and said, "Well, she's just dressed like us." And the woman who was very indignant about the whole thing turned and said, "Yes, but she represents us." So they pay attention.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is so freaky. So, and when you say I don't acknowledge them, I don't talk to them because they'll all come running. They all, what is their interest in her then? Just because they can converse with her, because they can, get answers to questions they may have, or wow.
She can hear them, they can hear her, and it creates sort of this situation where everyone wants to talk because they really don't get opportunities to talk to anyone. So, they make their presence known, but it's not the same opportunity. Isn't that funny?
That is so funny. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the George Wythe House. We've got a picture of the George Wythe House. We've got a couple pictures, actually. Not that one. That one will be coming up.
That's Randolph House. We'll get back to that one.
Yeah. I think this was the one that was directly head on. Well, that's the staircase. I think
the staircase. We can go back to the staircase.
Okay, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
And it's a very spooky picture. I like this picture.
Yeah, the clouds are pretty intense.
Yes, and I love the vibrancy of the colors in the red door as well. So talk about the George Wythe House.
So in addition to being able to talk to us sometimes and watch us, the spirits have personalities, and the spirits like different people. So, for example, at the Wythe House, we have a woman who's a storyteller who is absolutely adored by one of the main ghosts, the Lady in Blue.
Oh, okay.
And when she's in that building, she feels safe. She feels comfortable. She feels kind of like she's like at tea with someone just lovely. The Lady in Blue does not like me.
Oh.
No, she thinks I am loud and obnoxious. She will make herself known, but not to me.
Oh.
It's sort of the amazing thing. So there was an instance I was taking a group into the building. We go in the back. And I'm going through the gate, but we're going through a different gate than we normally do. And as we're going through, the very end of the group, there's a woman who says, "Who is the lady on the other side of the building?" And I said, "There wasn't anybody." "Why?" She said, "There was a woman. She was dressed like you." Clothes. She said, "But she was all in blue." And she said she was very agitated that we weren't going through that gate.
Oh, dear.
Yes, she makes it known whenever she has the opportunity that she does not like me.
They're sticklers for certain ways of doing things.
Yes. I mean, and part of it is it's personality. So at the With House, again, for me, the ghost of the man who was key to creating Colonial Williamsburg, Dr. W.A.R. Goodwin, his office was in the building. That was sort of their headquarters at one point.
Okay.
And he likes me. He likes me a lot. I can smell his pipe smoke when I'm in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
There was an instance where I heard, when I was actually grading papers, I was teaching at William Mary's grading papers, and I heard these footsteps come down the hall, stop at the doorway where I was, and it literally felt like someone walked in and kind of looked around. And then once they were satisfied, they walked out. Some of the people we have who come in, our mediums, will say there's this man in a white outfit from the early 20th century, and he's really excited to be here. And so it's really funny how much of their own personalities they retain. And we see that really in who they prefer to be around.
That's so funny. That's interesting that you say lady in blue, because normally we get a lady in white with all of our stories and people who come on and everything. But that's interesting, lady in blue. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Okay. And when we come back, we will talk about the Peyton Randolph house, which we saw a little bit of glimpse of earlier, and the jail that's in Colonial Williamsburg. Very interesting stuff. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back. There we go. We've got a little ghost action going on here with our boards. It's just a little bit. All right, we are back with Ghost Tales, talking to Dr. Kelly Brennan of Colonial Williamsburg, and fascinating us with all these tales of the ghosts and the vibe around there, and the fact that they pay attention to us as much as we pay attention to them. They have their favorite people who come along, and they're very much sticklers for certain ways of doing things and certain people that they like and don't like. It's very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the Peyton Randolph house. We've got a picture of it here. We saw it just a moment ago. Earlier, it's that side view. That's the George Wythe house, I believe. It's the red. There we go.
There it is.
Yes, the big red building. And talk a little bit about what is so. I've read stories about this. I actually have a personal family history with this. But talk a little bit about the house.
So the Peyton Randolph house has had a reputation of being haunted going back to the 19th century. So the initial people who lived in the house, the initial family that was there was the Randolph family. Pretty much every member of the Randolph family was very important politically. Peyton, for whom the house is named, was the first president of the Continental Congress. So it's got a lot of sort of esteemed history. Then it's got a more interesting history. And one of the questions I get a lot is, well, where did they all come from? And years ago, I actually had someone on the tour, she was a medium, who gave me some information.
Oh.
And so at the end of the tour, she said to me, I want to walk around town. I'm a medium and I'm getting all this weird stuff and I want to see.
Okay.
Walk around town.
Wait, she was getting weird stuff.
She was getting weird stuff.
She made a point of saying it was weird stuff. And she's used to this.
Yes. Well, we didn't even get to that point. We walked around town. She walks up to the courthouse and she goes, why are there so many dead bodies around the courthouse?
Oh my.
And there's an answer. After the Battle of Williamsburg, during the American Civil War, it was used as a morgue, and there were corpses kind of around that area.
Oh my goodness.
And at that point, I was like, okay, she's the real deal.
Yes.
There's no way she would know that.
She would know that. Yes.
So we go back to the Peyton Randolph house, and she gets close to it. She kind of stops. She steps backwards. She steps forwards, and then she shakes her head and goes, "Oh, okay." I had no idea. And she said, no. She said, there's a white witch who seals the area off every full moon. Not what I was expecting.
No.
And I said, "Oh, what's here is so scary. It has to be kept in." She said, "It's so scary. We have to keep you out." And I said, I mean, because we had our stories and there were lots of ghosts,
Right.
but that like was another level. And then she said to me, she goes, "There is a vortex built in. So see where the door is?
Yes.
If you move slightly to the right, apparently in the basement, there is a vortex."
Wow.
And what she meant by that was that this is basically a subway stop for all things supernatural. She said, for the most part, good things don't travel this way. So you're talking about, shadow people and evil spirits and even what people would call demons. So all of these really terrifying things that just sort of get like let out.
Wow.
And the funny thing is when people come into that building, sometimes they'll stop and say, "I love this building. This is beautiful in here." I mean, truly will stop what they're doing. And what the woman told me about that happening was that the house is feeding off of that person because it's tricking them.
Wow.
This is such a delightful place. So if anyone ever goes in there, keep that in mind.
Oh my goodness.
It's one of those things, and I've seen
I think
it
my
other
mom
places.
said that when we toured it last time. I think she said something because I mentioned it to her that you were coming on the show and she was like, "Oh, I love that house." It was so, yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
let her know that.
Well, if anyone's going to feed off a positive spirit, it would be my
Oh.
mother because she's wonderful. That is really freaky. I read somewhere, and I can't remember, I don't think it was George Washington, but somebody was going to visit Peyton Randolph and he was walking in the door and he'd visited like every so often, like this was a normal occurrence. And I can't remember who it was now, but he was walking in the door and he actually made a note in his diary, in his journal about this experience where he was walking in and he felt this, like somebody tugging back on him, like,
wow.
"Don't go in."
Yeah.
Like it was trying to prevent him from walking through
Yeah.
the door. So this has been going on, activity has been going on for a while. at
Forever.
this.
And what the woman said was it's vortex. So it was there during Peyton. It was there before the Peyton Randolph house. It was there during the all. It's been there the whole time.
Before the house was there?
Yes, she said that. She said those sorts of things are basically created when the earth is made.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That is
And there
wild.
happens to be one under this house. Like, so strange.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so well, keep that in mind next time you go visit the Peyton Randolph house, or skip it if you're so inclined. All right, we're going to talk about the jail really fast.
Okay.
About and that was the doorway, the multiple doorways. We'll get to that in a minute. Right there.
Yep,
Yes,
that's the
that
one.
room. So talk about what's so interesting about the jail.
So the jail is one of these places. We have all these places that seem innocuous in their haunting, but really, can be kind of creepy. The jail the expectation is the jail is scary, and the jail doesn't, definitely delivers. And one of the things about the jail is that there's also a spirit there that tries to keep things positive and try to keep people safe when they come in.
Really?
Because the things that are in the jail, these are people who were about to, some of whom were just condemned to die. And this is where they're taken before they're executed. People who are awaiting trial for felony crimes for which they could be executed. And then we have until the public hospital opened, which was for the mentally ill patients were kept there. At the time of the revolution, there are alleged spies kept there. So there are a lot of people who are really anxious who are kept in this space. So it's a lot of energy,
A lot of activity,
along
yeah.
those lines. And things will kind of open and close the doors. I'm pointing like anyone's here. Sorry. They open and close the doors. You hear growling from inside the cells.
Wow.
The second floor where we think the mentally ill are housed, there is a woman who has been seen both out the window and on the inside and inside the room, who has these like sort of frightening salt and pepper, like wiry hair, and she's wearing this sort of white nightgown up to her, and she runs at you. But the thing is, she hits the door frame and she can't come through.
Huh.
So somebody set up something at some point, but she will run and she almost like scratches as if there was something there.
Wow.
So it's a lot of bad energy.
Wow. And so there's a spirit there that is trying to keep all this out. kind of, to an extent.
He to a certain extent. So he, for the longest time, I referred to her as my emotional support boyfriend ghost. I know. So the thing about him was he was always so positive and pleasant. And the first time I ever felt it was a day I was really creeped out. I worked briefly inside that building, and I felt like an arm's length behind me, this guy walking. And it was a very comforting feeling. I wasn't afraid.
Wow.
And I would sort of sense him every once in a while. I left Colonial Williamsburg. I came back years later. We were doing a program inside the jail. All of the power went out. It was terrifying. It was at night. And I hear a voice behind me just say, light. And they all came back. So he's the guy who's trying to keep things like positive because he's got all of this other negative, nasty stuff going on in that space. There's another storyteller who said that she knows he's around because she can smell roses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Well, that's nice. Okay. All right. We're going to take another break real quick. And when we come back, we'll talk about Shields Tavern and the Capitol building.
Okay.
All right. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to Ghost Tales. We've got Dr. Kelly Brennan with us today from Colonial Williamsburg. Just, oh my goodness, so much stuff. There's so much activity going on in Colonial Williamsburg. I had no idea. It's really fascinating stuff. Now we're going to talk about the Shields Tavern. Tell us about Shields Tavern. We've also got a picture of that one. It's the white building with the sign out front.
Oh,
that's inside the jail, by the way. I know we didn't get it around to that. There we go. Okay. So talk a little bit about the tavern.
So Shields Tavern is where I started my ghost telling career. This is back in 2006. And I have had a tremendous number of experiences. Guests have had a tremendous number of experiences. Shields Tavern is one of the taverns that's a restaurant. And because of that, I think is why it's so active. They say that spaces that are full of energy and full of life are the ones that end up haunted. And Shields is a great example of that. I think the scariest version of what happened to me, actually, the beginning of it took place on those stairs at that door.
Oh, dear.
So there was a night where I was working. Two of my colleagues were also there. One was working, the other was just kind of hanging out. And it was my job to take a tour. I headed out. I was about 10 minutes in. My two colleagues, my boss and my friend, decide to go upstairs into the Ghost Walk office, which is creepy on its own right. And they decide they're going to see if they can find one of the spirits that are in the building. Yes, I thought that was very brave of them.
Just walking around trying to find.
Well, no, what they did
calling out to
they
them?
did is they made a Ouija board. They just made it themselves, and they took a glass and they overturned it and they started to go. And as they're waiting, they know who they're looking for.
Okay.
Francis Shields.
Oh.
So they start. Is anyone here? Yes. Does anyone want to speak to us? Yes. Who is this? F-R-A.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
at that moment, they heard banging on the door. So they hear the door bang. They see those doors open. Let's see them. They hear them open. And then they hear footsteps. And they were hearing footsteps they were very familiar with because they were my footsteps. And of course, my boss is furious because I'm supposed to be outside with 45 people. So she comes barreling down the stairs and she follows the sound of the footsteps through the whole first floor of Shields Tavern. And she gets to the end and there was nobody there. And that's when she hears the colleague, Lindsay, upstairs say, "You need to get up here right now." Jenny makes it way up.
Wait, did she yell down? Or
She
did
yells,
walk it?
"You got to make it up. You got to get up here right now." And because she heard it and she assumed it was me as well. So Jenny comes running up those twisted stairs and she gets to the top and Lindsay just points and says, "Look, there I am outside with 45 people." So there's this thing that can do my footsteps. That's the start. From that point on, for a series of weeks, I would come into work. And of course, it's a working restaurant. So there were people already in the building.
Right.
And walk in and they'd say, "Oh, you were here earlier." So what are you talking about? They said, "You were in," it was one of the rooms we very rarely use. And they were like, "Oh, you were in that room." I said, "What was I doing?" They go, "Nothing. You were just kind of standing there. You didn't even acknowledge that I was there." So she was kind of put off that I was rude. But I wasn't there. I had been in Richmond earlier that day. Then.
So can look like you?
Yeah.
That is freaky.
The second time it happens, it was there's a large fireplace and there's two closets sort of next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other servers opened the closet. There I was with my back to them. So this thing looks like me, creeps everybody out. And I'm thinking that's the end of it. It stopped. So I was like, all right, we're fine. And when I was leaving one night, I was actually helping closing the building. And when you close the building, you have to go through the basement.
Mm-hmm.
So I come down, I hit the stairs, the lights on the stairs, because there's no lights at the bottom. Hit the lights on the stairs. I come running down the stairs and I hear laughter. Freeze. And I turn to a dark corner of the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, who is that? And a voice said, you ought to know by now. That voice was my voice.
Oh my word.
Yes. After that point, I didn't have anything happen, except that we learned that there was a mimicker down that end of town.
Oh, dear.
So that there was this female spirit who presents as this woman, Frances Shields, at points. But a colleague of mine was giving a tour, and she got to like across the street from the building, and she was standing on the steps of this house, and she said, well, there's this mimicker. There might be a bunch of them at Shields and at this building. And she heard a voice in her ear say, no, just the one. And actually, it's a segue into the courtroom of the Capitol.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's talk about the Capitol really quick. We've got
Okay,
a couple
I can do that
minutes.
really quick.
I mean, don't rush. We've got about 5 minutes. But
Okay.
yes, talk about the Capitol.
Okay, so at the Capitol building, actually, that's the one. That's the picture. Yep.
I think I've been in this room, probably. I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this room is in the Capitol building. It's the High Court of Virginia. It's where you'd be tried for felonies.
Right.
So when I was talking about, so there's a program that we do called Cry Witch. It is a reenactment of a trial that took place in 1706 when Grace Sherwood, I think a lot of people probably know who Grace Sherwood is, was allegedly tried in this space. The answer is she wasn't, but she was tried. Whole nother story.
Oh, okay.
From this angle, actually, we can see from what she saw the night she was seen. So they're doing that program, Cry Witch. And down by the bigger table with the green mat on it.
Wait, I'm sorry, which one?
So
The center one or the one off to the side?
The one off to the off to the side. So in the programs, it's a trial. So there is an attorney general, and the guy who is the attorney general is talking, and then every once in a while, he's looking up over his shoulder, and then eventually the
guy playing attorney
the
general.
attorney general looking up, and then the guy playing the governor who's sitting in that big chair in the middle, he starts looking up, and then Grace, who sat in the middle, she starts looking up. And they all see the same thing. They say, I see a woman in early 18th century clothes, just standing on that balcony from which we're looking, just staring at them. Just staring at them. In 2006, she was granted a pardon by the governor of Virginia. And we never saw her again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that Grace Sherwood? Is that the one who we get the name Witch Duck Road from? Okay.
That's the one.
That's the Witch of Pungo.
Yep. The
Okay.
Witch of Pungo.
Yes. I knew that sounded familiar.
Yeah. I was like, I know you know this.
Yes.
I knew you knew that.
Yes. I included her in my story, Haunted Hampton Roads, last October.
Cool.
And we talked a little bit about her and the statue now that is, that is so freaky. So after 2006,
Didn't see her anymore.
didn't see her anymore.
But now we have
It's
another
just-
problem.
Oh, what's
So that
that?
mimicker seems to have shown up again. So one of my
And
jobs...
pretending to be Grace?
No.
Okay.
Pretending to be, well, potentially a few people
Okay.
at once. So one of the things I do for Colonial Williamsburg is I was vetting the script for more historical accuracy for the program. And so I was in that space a lot with the cast of the program. And then not too terribly long after that, when I was done with the consulting, one of the guys in the program said to me later, he's like, why were you there the other night? It's not there. But other people saw this spirit too, but they didn't think it was me. They thought it was a woman who's in the cast.
Huh.
The mimic goes with the younger person. I looked similar to the cast member when I was young.
Wow.
So it's not me anymore. She's found other people to mimic.
Wow. She's moved on.
She's moved on.
Oh my goodness. This is fascinating. Well, it's been wonderful having you on. We'll have you on again,
Okay.
talking more about, because there appear to be so many stories.
So many stories.
Myriad of stories to go along with Colonial Williamsburg. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Kelly
you.
Brennan, for joining us. And thank you for joining us and watching us on Ghost Tales. We will see you next time. And in the meantime, if you've got a spooky encounter or a story that you'd like to share with me, give us a call, send us an email, and we'll talk about maybe having you on the show. So, all right, we'll see you next time when we scare up another spooky story to tell. We'll see you next time.